Welcome to A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. The Bible tells one big story of redemption, and we want to spend 5 minutes every day journeying through the Bible from start to finish and exploring how all of it points to Jesus.
Hi everyone, welcome back to A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. My name is Allie and I'm one of the hosts for the podcast. Today we'll be in Job chapters 22 through 24. In chapters 19 through 21, the second series of speeches between Job and his friends comes to an end. We hear last from Zophar in that series, and then a response from Job, who calls the so-called advice from his friends futile comfort. His friends hold hard and fast to this idea that Job is paying for his sins. Chapter 22 begins the third series of speeches, and we hear from Eliphaz first. He, of course, continues with words that tear down rather than build up, though parts of what he says may be true. But unfortunately, those truths are not applied in the right way. He speaks only to blame Job's circumstances on Job himself, who he believes has earned this turmoil that surrounds his life, the loss of everything that he owned, family, belongings, wealth, and his own health. Job's response to Eliphaz comes in chapters 23 and 24, and we see that he is still hurting and confused at his unexplainable hardships. And to make matters worse, his friends heap criticism and shame upon him. For Job, God feels far from him. It feels as though he has totally removed his hand from Job's life. Yet Job believes still that God is present in his life, that he will one day restore and redeem this brokenness. And he knows too that although his circumstances don't make sense to him now, the Lord must surely be using them to refine him and grow him. Job brings his questions to God, expectant as his very faith is tested through these trials. As we watch the story of Job pan out through this book, we can be reminded that just as God's plan for Job didn't seem clear, so our circumstances often feel the same way. We can't understand why God allows certain hardships to happen in our lives, whatever that might look like for each of us. And that will certainly be different for each person. But what remains the same is God's love for us through those hard seasons that we face. God is always with us, and he will not abandon us, even when it feels as though he is absolutely nowhere to be found. There are things we may never understand on this side of heaven, but still we trust that when the Lord calls us home, every broken place will be redeemed, every question answered in our Redeemer, Christ alone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure to follow along on Instagram at the Daily Grace Podcast and at the Daily Grace Co. And check out our website, thedailygraceco.com, for lots and lots of resources to help you dive more deeply into God's Word. On the website, you can find our Story of Redemption study to accompany this podcast, as well as Story of Redemption journals that include dedicated journaling space for every chapter of the Bible. You can always find resources to accompany the podcast at thedailygracepodcast.com. And finally, if you enjoyed today's episode and are excited to come back tomorrow, will you just take a minute to leave us a rating or a review on iTunes to help more people find the show? Thank you so much, and we look forward to talking with you tomorrow.